Hey everyone, this is Jake.
And I'm Nadia. Excited to talk about a movie we saw recently, Nope. Jordan Peele's new epic Hollywood action, adventure, sci-fi, spectacle, horror film.
Horror, horror is a very loose term.
We have not spoken about it.
We wanted to save it for you guys.
We wanted to save it for the interview. So we've had a lot of time to think about it. So I'm personally very curious to know what you think of the film.
Not as good as I thought it was going to be honest. We had watched other films of his that we really loved. And this one, I think that maybe the trailer outdid the actual film. I thought it was going to be more horror-like than it was. However, I did enjoy the love of animals. I really love the themes in there. And I really love the style of the film. However, I did feel like some of the parts were unnecessary and boring. And I felt like the ending was a little bit of a letdown.
I agree.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I want to rate it 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay.
It's a pretty high rating.
It is?
Yeah, I thought you liked it much less based on how you were reacting after the experience. I think I liked it more than you, although I can't imagine giving it higher than a 7 because I think it was flawed. I do think that the screenplay is flawed, and I'll get into more details of where I think it was lacking. And I was really digging this movie the whole way. There are some fantastic scenes, great sequences. I was into the characters, their relationships. I loved the premise. Like, I was so into it. And then it didn't end satisfyingly for me. I personally was waiting for more, not in that I was expecting too much from the movie, but I was expecting it to have some kind of resolution to certain themes, certain stuff. It felt like, and I'm seeing a lot of reviews of people talking about this movie saying like, oh, there's so much in this movie. There's so many themes and stuff thrown out there. And it is. It just, none of it is brought together. None of it kind of coheres for me. It feels like there's all these motifs, visual and thematic, that are put in there that don't come together in a satisfying way. It just kind of feels like it's thrown there to be like, you get what we're doing? Like, you get the point? And it's funny because there are people who are saying like, I don't get the point of the movie. I get the themes. Like, I feel like it's almost a little too obvious the way that it's shown, because some things are just put in there just to be thematically relevant and make a point. And by the end of the movie, as I was watching what was happening, I was thinking, oh, so I'm watching the theme right now. I'm watching this idea represented in this thing. It feels like I'm not really watching the experience anymore. I'm not dramatically involved anymore. Again, I really liked a lot of the movie. I think there's some really brilliant parts, really thoughtful stuff, and maybe on another watch, things will cohere better for me now that my expectations aren't so high. But when I got to the end of the movie, I was literally waiting for the third act. I thought we were going into like the third act, or at least there'd be another 20 minutes of the movie. I was like, okay, so now what about that other stuff? Or that's it? Like, that was it. Like, I was kind of bummed out. I was like, I was so hooked. I was so involved, but then it just was fizzled out.
Yes. I didn't think that there was a third act. I knew that there was a third act.
I know it was the third act, but I thought it was like... I was very aware
of time towards the end.
Were you bored?
I wasn't bored, but I was like, okay, I don't think I'm going to get the satisfaction that I want, because there's a lot of questions in there that they introduced in the first act that I didn't feel like it was coherently processed, if that makes sense, throughout the film.
There's one particular character and thread, which I think you'll agree with me, we'll talk about in spoilers, that didn't go where I wanted it to go. It felt like it was just kind of dropped.
You're making me very excited for the spoiler section, so can we go to that?
I mean, I feel like maybe we should talk a little bit more, just some other thoughts I have about the movie before we go into spoilers. I do think it's worth a watch. I think there's a high chance you may like it. I just think I had higher expectations going in than I probably should have. Regardless, there are some fantastic scenes, certain things it says about the film industry, about how people are exploited in the film industry, animal exploitation in the film industry. I was expecting a movie about alien contact, and it was a movie about animals, there were horror scenes. I think that this was a genuinely scary movie. There were horrific aspects, just not where you expected them. The actual threat wasn't as scary as I thought, but other parts were genuinely scary.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. Let's do spoilers. First spoiler. The last act of this movie is basically just Jaws. You've never seen Jaws.
No, I don't know.
But the thing with the balloon animals in Jaws, they put these they anchor these air things to the shark, so they pop up every time the shark is near. And it's kind of like with this, every time the aliens come near, you see the inflatable things go down. I was genuinely thinking there was going to be another segment where things came together because of the character Jupe. Okay, the elephant in the room, or shall I say, the chimpanzee in the room.
There was a story that I remember where that actually happened to a person.
Very scary.
And it was very scary, very hard.
Chimpanzees can, because chimps, they look cute and they're smaller than us, but they are 1,000 times stronger. They're just pure muscle. If you think you can fight a chimp, you're done. There's no way in hell you could.
Well, and I think that we kind of act like animals are just like toys, you know, and we don't really care that they have emotions and other things going on as well. So I think that in the film, the chimpanzee acts out, starts killing all the cast, not killing and giving a fist bump to Jupe's character. Jupe is the only one spared. He doesn't really know why. But he has a lot of PTSD about that. Now, Jupe's character is really interesting because he's firsthand seen the horror that can happen, where the chimpanzee probably got scared and started defending himself or just acting out because he was scared. What was a letdown of his character, and I don't judge the script by this, I just was disappointed. For me, I interpreted that as he had more empathy for animals, but he ended up exploiting the horses that he bought from OJ, the main character of the film, because he would put them in cage, have them run in field, and watch them be eaten by the alien. OJ said that he really wants to save the horses, he wants to bring back the horses. They were broke, so he had to sell a lot of these horses, but the intention was always to get them back. And the fact that these horses are being eaten by the aliens so carelessly made me feel what's the point, because that was the goal that was introduced in the first act, and I felt like we're going to see that through.
That was one thing, but I mean, the whole thing with Jupe, I think, was faulty because it didn't really follow through with that, because I think Jupe's character was really interesting in that he's had this traumatic thing happen to him, but he, for some reason, feels like he has this closer connection, like you said, with animals, that he can control them, and he can control, and basically, at the end of the day, the UFO is just a metaphor for an animal, a predator, something we don't understand, something other than us that we think we can control, put on film. It's it's good how the metaphors are in alignment with the film industry, with how OJ and his sister, they're trying to capture this UFO on film, just like people try to capture all sorts of animals on film, and that's their job. They put horses on film, and everything ties together quite beautifully thematically. But I think that part of the problem is that it's all theme focused, and it's thematic storytelling, in that the stuff with Jupe and all the emphasis on the chimpanzee attack, that's all important to Jupe, but that ends up becoming kind of not important for OJ and his sister. And we spend way more time on OJ and his sister, who I think are fine, but I think the way more interesting stuff is with Jupe, and we don't get any follow through with that, because don't even know that Jupe is in contact with the aliens and that he's using his show to basically feed the horses to the aliens and do all of that. We don't know all of that until right before he dies and right before all the people get killed by the aliens. I was genuinely confused at that first part, because when he was doing that show, I thought it was going to be an act. I didn't think he was actually communicating with the aliens. I thought that really needed to be shown to us earlier, that this is what Jupe is doing, because after they were taken, I was like, oh, wait, so they're really selling tickets to see this real UFO? I feel like we needed to see that, because I thought it was all artificial. I thought they were doing some kind of stunt performance or whatever.
I don't agree with you about the OJ part in the sense that Lucky, the horse who survived, like the only horse really that survived, I do think there was a good follow through with that horse in particular. I think that there were other horses that OJ's father loved and that was part of the initial story who were eaten, and that was not satisfactory at all. But I think Lucky, OJ really cared to make sure that Lucky was safe, and he even said, "Don't worry, I got you." When the director that they hired, I forget his name, they hired a
The
director
cinematographer.
to capture the alien. Horrible idea was to just use the horses as bait. OJ and his sister were like, "No, we're not gonna do that. We're horse people." It was just like a little bit of like an unsatisfying ending when they were gone forever. Whereas when they first started disappearing and before we knew that the alien was actually eating them, I thought that they were gonna come back and he was going to save them.
I was kind of disappointed in that people just get eaten. Once we saw inside the flying saucer, I was like, this is really crazy and interesting and frightening. I was expecting them to go into the flying saucer and like there to be stuff, but when it's shown that the UFO is actually like an alien organism, intrigued, but also a little disappointed because then it just becomes like, why are the aliens here? Why are they in this area just feeding on people? Also, they're a hyper intelligent species apparently here. Why are they getting tricked into eating like balloons and stuff,
Yeah, and that's what also didn't make sense because the idea is that like these awesome predators, if you look them in the eyes and they're gonna eat you, if you don't, they're not gonna eat you. That's the ending of the film, is that it ends up eating a ballooned,
Yeah, well,
thing.
Kiki Palmer's character floats the balloon up and then takes a picture from the well, which when they first introduced the well that takes pictures, I was literally thinking, when we first saw it in the first act, I was like, okay, this is how they're going to get proof of the aliens. They'll take a picture with this somehow for some reason, but I didn't think it was going to be so obvious or kind of silly at the end where she just floats up this balloon animal to the alien and they eat it. And it kind of, in a way, broke the metaphor, I thought. The sister and the brother, they're trying to like respect this species, and not treat it like they can control it or know it,
Like an object.
Yeah, just like with the horse, he said, don't look the horse in the eye, show
Respect the horse, yeah.
And I thought that they were going to like understand that and there'd be a sense of wonder and respect. But instead, the way that Kiki Palmer takes the picture, it's supposed to be like a victory. And it's played in the movie like a victory where she takes a picture after this alien dies or is seriously injured by this balloon animal. And it's supposed to be like a heroic moment. But to me, it felt very false because it's like, isn't this going against the message you're trying to show of what OJ was trying to do to show respect to the aliens? But then they just like do the thing that they're.
I think it changed. That idea changed though when the aliens started eating his horse, and it was like, oh, now it's personal.
I think what disappointed me is that by the end, this kind of mysterious object of wonder and scary but also exciting, and this UFO mysterious, it becomes simplified into just another scary monster. And I thought like I was a little like, it just becomes Jaws, it just becomes some bear or dinosaur, it doesn't really matter what it is by the end. I thought that they just kind of simplified it and it made it a little less exciting and just like, okay, it's just monster, just big bad monster.
I agree, and that's what was really disappointing because Jordan Peele's previous work were more complex, and it seemed like the ending was oversimplified in some sense. And I think that's why it was a little disappointing because I think you expect more from a Jordan Peele movie. I really liked a lot of aspect of it. I thought it was too simple in the end. I felt like, okay, this predator, he's super big, and yet he's going to be fooled by just balloons.
Yeah, it doesn't learn. It doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't learn, it doesn't adapt. It's smart in a lot of ways and it's dumb in a lot of ways.
Well, I think we're supposed to think that, okay, if it's an alien species on our planet, like it must be really intelligent. No, that like these things are not intelligent at all.
They're pretty easy to fool if you know how a predator works, kind of thing. And so in that way, it's oversimplified and it doesn't make it stand out anyway. I understand why they did it the way they did, right? If I was writing the film, which obviously I'm not saying I could ever write something like that, but if I were to write the film, it's not saying that I would do something different, to be honest, because I see how it works and I see how it plays into the story. I really thought like, because it was his family business, OJ has so many memories with his dad taking care of the horses and everything else. I thought of him viewing them as his family. So when it was only Lucky that was saved, it kind of felt a little cheesy to me. Lucky, the guy whose name is Lucky. Is he really lucky? Oh, guess he is. I also liked the guy who worked at like a Best Buy basically.
He was okay. He felt just like kind of like annoying comic relief.
Yeah, that's what I liked.
I thought he was a little obnoxious, but
You know who was really obnoxious?
Hmm.
The cinematographer.
I thought it was interesting.
I thought it was so stupid at the end how he was like supposed to be smart and he captures the film. Then he ruins the film by wanting to go near the predator when he has all this experience in like filming predators.
I don't know. I thought it was like supposed to be kind of comical in the way that like this supposedly serious, super cool director just kind of gets eaten. And it kind of gave me this like, I don't know if this was on purpose, but like this Werner Herzog, just like very manly, like I'm gonna go film. It's important to be filmed. Like life is less important than capturing something on film. And he does that and dies. You know.
Well, no, I don't think that it's not bad. I don't think it's bad that he dies. I think that it's bad the way it happened. I would have much rather the predator, the alien, outsmart him because he thinks he's a little cocky. He thinks he has all this experience, which he does. But it would have been fun if the alien was like, oh, you think you got me? I got you. I know what you're doing, kind of thing.
Yeah, he was a little stupid there. One thing I think would improve this movie, and I kept thinking like I wish that this was there, is that when Jupe is eaten, I think what it would improve things is if he was the only survivor of that attack. His whole family dies. Everyone in the stadium dies, but he's left around.
Like the second time in a row.
And then it would make a lot more sense to have all of that time spent on the chimpanzee stuff. And then we have Jupe having to deal with grief, realizing, oh my God, I screwed up, I'm wrong. Him teaming up with Keke Palmer's character and OJ, and he's having to confront these things, and maybe he does maybe he's redeemed, maybe he's not. Regardless, he's in the movie more, and there's more follow through with his character. It just felt like he was cut from the movie, and then after he was gone, I had way less interest in
the film,
what was going on, because he has emotional connection to these aliens in a way that's really profound and deep. I'm saying that OJ does too, because his dad was killed, because the aliens dropped debris. But it seems less personal. OJ isn't like, I want revenge on you,
I think it's equally personal in a lot of ways. I think it's more personal with OJ actually because it's his father. Jupe, I understand completely what you're saying. I like what you're saying so much because I think it would be really interesting if he was the one to survive for 2 times in a row.
Yeah.
And it was like, why me? And there was just like this mystery around Jupe, and maybe it was his quality. Maybe there's an aura about him or something mysterious that maybe is never resolved at the end of the film.
And then Jupe and OJ can kind of go against each other. They have these 2 different ideas about how to interact with the aliens.
Yeah.
And that could be interesting. I do think they should have done more with Jupe and explaining that like this is what he's doing and what he's been doing, because it was kind of jarring, and I didn't love how that was presented. Or
maybe introduced a little earlier or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Just introduce it a little earlier that he's doing these things. Maybe in an alternative cut there's that footage somewhere, but I feel like it just not having that earlier in the movie made it feel kind of jarring. I enjoyed a lot of the film. It just really lost me in the ending. I thought it just became a little too simplified in the ending, and I didn't like how it just kind of resolved with Keke Palmer taking a picture of the alien. Seems like it just kind of, the themes got a little lost there at the end. But for the most part, it was really satisfying. I really got thrilled. I got scared. There are some amazing moments and scenes and sound design and set pieces that are just brilliant, very well executed. I enjoyed pieces of it, but all brought together just didn't land exactly as I was hoping.
I agree 100%.
Okay.
Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you for watching.
We do recommend this film, and we can't wait to do another review next week. I hope you guys have a great month ahead of you, and we'll talk to you next time.
Talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.